Hi guys, welcome to Mild to Wild. Today I have a delicious cornbread. Not only cornbread, check this out. All of these delicious ingredients on top. If you want to learn how to cook, this is the right place. Come and join me. And I'm going to start this delicious cornbread with the main ingredient itself, the cornmeal. Now, you can use any type of cornmeal. If you get to use organic, even better. If not, just make sure that it has a fine grind. You do not want it to be like a powder. It has to have some texture, but it should not be very clumpy because you want it to be light and fluff up. So I would say 250 grams. I can eyeball it by now. I love to make this recipe, so I'm pretty sure I got it right. And I'm going to use the exact same quantity in grams of fat. If you have olive oil or if you're vegetarian, you can use olive oil, canola oil, grapeseed, is up to you. In this case, I'm going to use the fat that I have at home. And I've been looking for another reason to use it, which is lovely, delicious duck fat. I love to use this type of fat. It's even better than butter and health reasons. So I'm gonna go right away with it. Going right away with the duck fat. I'm gonna need a hot pan. I'm gonna melt half of it, and the other half is gonna go straight into this mixture. Let me join me here. I'm gonna get this started. Crank up the heat. Make sure it's nice and hot. So I'm going to use 250 of delicious duck fat. It's gonna get sizzling here, guys. Just gonna let that melt away. Go, give it a little, perfect. As that is going, we're gonna go right back to our dry ingredients. So, cornmeal, we're going to add 1 teaspoon of our baking powder. It has to be a full teaspoon, so here we go. Baking powder. And to that, I'm gonna use half a teaspoon of baking soda. Now, this is a personal take on the cornbread. And the idea of using different leveling agents is because we're going to add some extra acidity to it in the form of buttermilk. I would have here 150 mils of buttermilk. In this case, I didn't have buttermilk, so all I did was added some lemon juice and let it sit for a couple of hours. It had that same acidity, that same flavor to it as well, which is important. As you can see it here already curdled. Milk goes in. Now, when it comes to leveling agents, you do not want them to sit for too long. You want to get them stirred. So I'm gonna use this whisk, start stirring it already. You can see it's beginning to shape already. And I can also hear the fat behind me. This is what I love about cooking. You're looking at ingredients, we can hear the other one in the back, we're watching this one. It's awesome. So, beautiful, beautiful texture. We're going for the fat now. Half of it will go right into it, our mixture. That's liquid gold. Liquid gold on black gold. It's a very important step of this recipe is to actually use cast iron. It's very important that it maintains a really hot temperature because that's going to guarantee crispness and even cooking all around. We'll stir it a little bit more. We're always going to season it. So for that, I'm going to use salt, about a teaspoon too. I think my pan is nice and hot. I'm just going to turn up the heat. Beautiful. And I'm going to add some corn. Now I have frozen corn that I defrosted. You can also warm it up a little bit. You can use fresh corn if you wish. Flash fry it on a dry pan. The same result will happen. You can even use cream corn if you wish. That'll go right in. We'll continue to stir to make sure that everything's evenly spaced out. Everything's nice and incorporated. Look at that. Now, that's the texture you're looking for. You want it to be a batter. You don't want it to be too clumpy or too liquid. Great mixture. Now, I can guarantee you this recipe will be perfect because we have the mixture of baking soda, baking powder, and the citrus from the buttermilk. The mixture of alkaline will create this erupt, basically. It's going to fluff up and create CO2. So alkaline, acidic, perfect combination. We're nearly there. What I'm going to do is I'm actually going to bring the pan closer. Now I'm going to add the cornmeal straight to the hot pan. It's important that you hear this sound when you're making cornbread. This sizzling is exactly what we want to hear. So nice and brown. That'll guarantee a coating very, very brown on the bottom, which we're going to turn around again during the process. Now, I'm going to do this in 2 takes. First few minutes, I'm going to put it in a hot blazing oven for about 5 minutes. Then I'm going to top it up with some spices, some greens, some color. which is going to be perfect. So crank up the heat all the way to the top in your oven. If you can do 240, 250, do it. It's very important because this will cook in no less than 15 minutes top. Here we go. There, beautiful cornbread. I'm going to make it extra special. I'm going to add a bunch of ingredients and spices that are going to take it to the next level. I'm going to start with some chilies. In here I have the perfect assortment of chilies. I have jalapenos, padron, red. I'm going to save the yellow. I'm just going to use an orange one. And this is going to give me some liveliness and some vibrancy to this recipe. I'm going to finally slice them one by one, jalapenos. And again, this is something that you can do with pickled chilies if you wish, or any other ingredient for that matter. You can use some herbs, it's up to you. Now, this recipe is one of those classic recipes from the US, come from an African heritage. Obviously the Africans had to use whatever ingredients they had at the time. So they learned how to use corn, and plenty of recipes with corn in America nowadays. Cornbreads, spoon breads, and so on. Plenty of color there from those two chilies. Another one here. Look at those lovely colors. This is gonna be amazing. I can tell already. I'm going to top it up with another ingredient, but let me have a quick look at my cornbread. I know that it's nearly there. Just make sure, handle this with care because it's a frying hot pan. In there. Oh, I can see that already. It's shaping up. Shaping up. Beautiful. I'm gonna top it up with the chilies now and some herbs. So let me just get in there. It's up to you. As I said, whatever ingredients you want to add to your cornbread, everything will be great on this. I like to mix a little bit of sweetness, something herbaceous as well. Definitely spice in this one. Now, chilies in, I think we're pretty much there, but I actually fancy something else. I'm going to add some cheese. This beautiful ghost cheese. It's a dry cheese, so it's going to melt, but it's going to take its time to do it. I'm going to loosely crumble it on top. You want to have some big chunks, some smaller chunks. Again, different textures. That's what cooking's all about. Spread them all around. And finally, last but not least, why not some herbs? I've got some sage and some thyme. Fresh herbs are best for this recipe because they're going to crisp up anyway, but it'll add more flavor if they're fresh. Just making them rain from the top. Look at this. Amazing colors here. Beautiful cheese, crispy saltiness, some sweetness. Time to put it back in the oven. About another 5 minutes, then we'll take a look. And as the cornbread is nearly ready, I'm going to make a tasty butter with a little bit of honey as well, so some sweetness. It's going to balance just perfectly. You're going to need frying pan and equal parts of butter and honey and some beautiful runny honey. All I'm going to do is let it melt. They're going to mingle, they're going to get to know each other, and then I'm going to just beautifully glaze it on top of our cornbread. So crank up the heat. I'm going to take a look at the cornbread. I'm pretty sure it's done. Oh yes indeed, and beautifully so. Look at that, awesome. Let's get in. Now, that's what I call a cornbread. It has everything it needs. It has the fluffiness that you can taste. Test by touching it. Comes back up, it's firm, it's done. All of those beautiful ingredients that I use, you can obviously use with other ingredients. Let's say olives, for example. Dates if you want sweetness. Red onion, sliced up thinly. It's up to you. Just to make sure that it separates completely, be able to take it out, touch the edges like that. This is what cooking's all about. Now, melted butter, beautiful butter. I'm just going to coat it now. Make sure that's completely melted and blended with the honey. That's the most beautiful smell ever. Top it up. I'm gonna use it almost like a simple brushing on the top. Make sure there's a coating. Look at that sheen now. Wow, what a beautiful smell. Guys, this is what cooking's all about. A few simple ingredients, but treated well, you can come up with some amazing ideas and delicious recipes. This is the best. It burns like fuck. Olive oil if you're vegetarian. If you Wow.